All right, everybody, thank you for coming today. I'm Chris Duncan, your mayor of San Clemente here. I just want to, thank everybody for coming out today. The purpose of today's briefing is to let everybody know, and particularly our residents know, what the state of affairs here on Buena Vista and San Clemente with the obvious float failure we had here. We feel terrible for our families, our residents that have been forced to go through this and have their lives disrupted. And speaking on behalf of the city, I can say that our number one concern is their safety. I want to thank our county, state, and federal partners for being here today. That partnership is going to be key in supporting all of our residents in getting through this, making sure that everyone's safe, making sure that everyone has resources to be able to continue on through this difficult time. And I particularly want to thank our deputy sheriffs and our firefighters from the Orange County Sheriff's Department and Orange County Fire Authority for stepping up and getting here right on time, getting everyone evacuated and making sure everyone's safe. So really what we're concerned about, again, is making sure that from a city's perspective, everyone's taken care of. We've stepped up as a city, we've been a resource, we've interacted with our residents and made sure that they know they can count on us to take care of them through this difficult time and make sure that they're safe. And this is going to be a longer term process. I think everyone should understand we have a dynamic situation here. We have another rainstorm coming. The ground is continuing to move. So these structures are still in peril. And from a city's perspective, again, safety first. So we're going to make sure that everything's set before we give the go ahead for folks to come back in. Before I turn it over to our other folks, I do want to let Congressman Levin here speak. He did write a letter to the president and on behalf of San Clemente to get some funding here. And so I want to make sure that Congressman Levin has an opportunity to speak and let everybody know what the federal government's going to do to help us out. And then I'll turn it over to the county and then our state legislators here.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Congressman Mike Levin. I'm proud to represent this great community in Congress. I want to thank Mayor Duncan for doing a great job and for really being a great leader in a time of need for the city, for convening this press conference this afternoon. I want to thank all of our other state and local leaders as well for your leadership. Yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, I was here and I saw the situation. I saw a few of you, and I reached out to the White House and FEMA to push for Orange County to be included in the federal emergency declaration that we have all across California. That followed Supervisor Foley and her leadership ordering or declaring a local emergency, as well as our representatives from Sacramento and their good work with Governor Newsom. And I'm proud to report that about an hour ago, the White House approved our request, and Orange County is now included in the federal emergency declaration. It's good news because that declaration will allow the federal government to provide emergency resources that'll come directly to this community and help our residents. Because of this declaration, impacted communities will be eligible to receive reimbursements from FEMA for things like debris removal. It's pretty important if you look down the hill. Emergency protective measures and other resources that our first responders have already spent and are continuing to spend to protect the public health and to keep our communities safe. I thank the administration for their quick response. They've been great. And I thank my staff as well for both in D.C. and in the district for working overtime the last 24 hours to make this happen so quickly. And I thank everybody at the federal level for taking Orange County seriously in terms of the damage that's already been done and the potential for future landslides. We can't stop, though, with that declaration. I'm going to continue to push for federal resources for long-term relocation to the extent it's necessary, and other long-term needs, such as long-term geotechnical studies. It's also a reminder to me of something I've been working on for quite a while in Congress, which is the relocation, potential relocation, and the need to study the relocation of certain parts of our rail corridor connecting Los Angeles and San Diego away from the beach. I have more to announce on that soon. But the bottom line is we've got to protect our amazing coast. We've got to minimize the harm that comes to our beautiful beaches and to our communities like this one. And I want to echo the mayor's heartfelt thanks to the Sheriff's Department. They've been amazing. Our firefighters, thank you so much. And every first responder risking their safety. I thank them for all their support for our community. know that I'm going to be with you through all this, and I think we're all going to work together, hand in hand, the mayor, our supervisor, your governor, and your president, working with our first responders. My priority in the coming days and weeks is going to be to continue to hear from those impacted, elevate your voices in the halls of Congress, and continue to push for whatever federal support we need so we can continue to protect this community and protect our district. Thank you. I'll turn it back to the mayor.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Congressman Levin. I really appreciate that. And I mean, you know, look, San Clemente is a family. We stand up for each other. So this is a difficult time, but it's good to know that we have everybody here fighting for us. And on that note, Supervisor Katrina Foley was down here with us yesterday, early on scene, inspecting the slide, the slope failure. And I'd like to turn it over to her to speak particularly about what we're doing for our families, what we're doing for our residents to make sure they're taken care of. Again, that's our first priority here in San Clemente. We take care of each other, and it's good to see that the county is stepping up to help us with that. So Katrina, would you like to say a few words about that?
Thank you, Mayor, and it's great to be a new member of the family. Yesterday I was down here, and then before that, though, on Sunday I got a call about a hillslide sliding in Newport Beach, and so we were able to quickly move to get an emergency declaration passed at the county level on Tuesday at our board meeting, which then we worked with the governor's office and our state officials to make sure that the governor added Orange County to the list of counties that needed help. And the reason for that is in Orange County, in addition to this hillside slide and the impact to these residents, the displacement to these residents, the impact to the property owners here, we also are seeing across Orange County upwards of $4 million in damage just as of today, and that's just since March 9th. So those numbers are going to escalate over the coming days as more of our cities input their data into the system. And so we do appreciate so much the help of our congressman and the president to include Orange County. We have been partnering all day. Michelle Anderson, who is our Emergency Operations Center Manager, she has been helping with the city of San Clemente and connecting them to the American Red Cross so that we can provide assistance. My office is here to serve. If for some reason you can't get a hold of someone at the city or through the American Red Cross, you can call us at 714-834-3550 and we will be sure to connect you. We want to make sure that tenants who have been displaced have ability to find housing, because this is going to take a couple of weeks. We cannot expect people to be moving in anytime soon. And so we're here to help, and we want to make sure that the residents are here and they get the help they need. The property owners, please call my office because we have some programs that we can assist you with. Tax season is coming for property taxes, and we can help you given the red tagged entities here. So please do reach out to us. Thank you to the mayor, the city of San Clemente, and our congressional friends for helping us to get the resources we need here in Orange County. We have this incident. We have today, a home was demolished on the hillside of the Back Bay because there were 3 homes that were sliding into the Back Bay. We also have the rooftop of one of our senior centers falling through. We've got damage in Seal Beach, in Huntington Beach. We have damage across Orange County, and we have a couple of days to get our crews out and shore up what we can, clean things up as we prepare for the next storm. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to our Sheriff's Department and our Fire Authority for being at the ready and ready to serve. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Supervisor Foley. Yeah, again, I think the message there is all the way, of course, from the county to the city. We're going to take care of all of you. We're going to take care of anyone who's in need. So there's nobody out there who we will not be able to help in some way. So please do reach out to us. Now, a big reason we're able to do that is our state legislators here who stepped up and wrote a letter to the governor to convince the governor to include us in the state of emergency, where we were not originally in the state of emergency from the state level. So I want to thank State Senator Janet Nguyen and Assemblywoman Laurie Davies for their work on that, and I'll turn it over to Janet, I guess, first to talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'm Senator Janet Nguyen. Assemblywoman Laurie Davies and I, and also Assemblywoman Diane Dixon, northern part of my district, I represent the entire coast of Orange County. So this is not just here. It's Newport Beach, Huntington Beach been impacted. Dana Point is also being looked at as well. We have sent a letter to the governor back on Monday and asking the governor to include Orange County into the state of emergency to the president. And as of Tuesday, the governor did declare and included Orange County with 2 other counties on Tuesday to be part of the state of emergency. We have also been in communication with the Department of Land Commission, the Department of Parks and Recreation, and also the Coastal Commission as well, making sure that we are here for you. The state is here, and we will do whatever it takes to making sure that foremost, like the mayor has stated, that you're safe, you and your family. And then also trying to make sure that we can help you to get back to some kind of normalcy, but it will be a long-term goal. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It might not happen for a few months, for quite a while from now. But we are here, and we will do whatever we can to assist. I also want to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Steve Knoblock is also here with us as well. And if you can't contact the county, the federal, or the city, my office is also open as well. Please feel free to contact our office. Our number is 916-651-4036. And so, we will be looking at the entire coast of Orange County. And also working the dredging that needs to happen in the northern end of the county, and also all the sand replenishment issues that we're dealing with the entire coast as well. And so at this time, I would like to hand it over to Assemblywoman Laurie Davies.
As my colleague Senator Nguyen had said, it was really important when we found out what happened, especially last week. I really want to thank you for jumping on that with me and getting the city put as a state of emergency. Obviously, safety comes first. We all know that. But we also know that assistance is what you're going to really need to be able to get your lives back on track. So again, at the federal level, the county level, and the state level, we will do everything we can to facilitate and make sure that those funds are there, those assistance are there to make sure that you're not out there, and do know that you are not alone. And again, my office, my district office is in San Juan Capistrano. You can contact us as well. Whatever we can do at the state level, and again, we are all together in this. Whatever we can do, we are working together as a team. You are our first priority. You will always be our first priority. So I thank you very much, and God bless.
Yeah, so I'll close it out. I do want to thank our city staff as well, our brand new city manager, Andy Hall, who came up from Imperial Beach. He's got trial by fire here, but luckily he's up for the job. And also we do have, Mayor Pro Tem Steve Knoblock. We have Councilmember Mark Enmeyer here as well, and I know we have city staff out here. Robert, I see you over there. He's been hustling, getting his steps in, going up and down the trail here, working it to make sure that all of the residents are safe. So really want to commend the city as well for stepping up. So it's been a great partnership. And again, the goal here, as you've heard, is making sure everyone's safe long term. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to make sure everyone's taken care of. And anybody who needs help is going to get it in this city. Right? That's what I stand for as the mayor. And I know that's what we stand for as a city and all of our partners here as well. So if we have any questions from the press, we're happy to take those. Maybe we'll take one here first.
Have we had a geologist able to do a comprehensive assessment of the area? What are the prospects for any additional damages to the homes that have already been red tagged? Is there a possibility for additional damage down the line, given the fact we're going to have a storm in 4 days? Yeah,
question is, do we have a geologist on the ground doing some testing and analysis? And what does that hold in terms of prospects for these properties and potentially other properties? Yeah, we do have a geologist on the ground, our consultant geologist from the city, who's been studying the movement, and we did have continual movement even after the initial movement. And we were monitoring overnight as well as the rain finally ceased. But we do have another rainstorm coming. So I'm not going to get ahead of the geologists and our building inspectors, but I'll say that there is still significant peril out there. Significant uncertainty about the structures. And so we can't make a decision at this point that they're safe for sure. They'll continue to stay red tagged. We did go down to a yellow tag at one of the properties here so we could get the residents to be able to get their personal belongings out. But I think to echo State Senator Nguyen's comments, this is going to be a longer term process. We wish it wasn't. We wish we could get everybody back in, but we're not going to do that unless it's safe. So we are studying this, and we're studying our whole coastline here, because we have a lot of other properties. If you walked our incredible beach trail, you've seen there's other properties in a similar situation, and we want to make sure those are safe as well. So that's something we're working on moving forward.
Is the geologist available to talk?
What's that?
Is the geologist available to talk?
I do not believe the geologist is here right now, so we'll hold that off. Yeah, thank you.
If I can also add, though, is we're working with the Lands Commission with the state. They also look at the entire coast, and so we're trying to get them down and also communicate and start looking across the coast in terms of looking at the land, and they're actually the state's geologists. So
How many of those are here? How many are on site?
I don't know, but we are working with them.
Are they here now? Or
I don't know. I don't believe so. I just flew in from Sacramento.
Do we have any other questions?
Have you got a specific number yet on the number of permanent residents displaced? And also, there's been a lot of talk of resources being made available, possibly from all these emergency declarations. Can you specifically say what resources are available to these residents who are now out of a home for the time being, both short-term and long-term? Are they being put up in hotels? And beyond that, if it has to go longer, are they on the hook for their rents here and their rents elsewhere? And what kind of help do they have?
So we have 4 buildings that are red tagged, 20 units. Some of those units are vacation rentals, so those are not permanent residents, but we do have a lot of permanent residents, and I think I see some of them out here. I've been talking with them, and we've been doing whatever we can for them on their individual basis. I mean, just to give you an example, most people do have found a place to stay, but there are people who need help. Our city manager stepped up. On his own credit card, put somebody up in a hotel right now. So that's what we're about in San Clemente. Somebody needs help, we're going to make it happen. But on a longer term basis, the Red Cross has been engaging with the county and making sure that anyone who needs help is able to be connected with those services. To the extent people have not been able to connect, and it's hard because this is a moving target, there's a lot of people out there, they can contact the city, they can contact me, they can contact the city manager. We will connect them with the services, and I don't know if Supervisor Foley may have some more information about longer term prospects for lodging and other assistance. The point I want to make as the mayor is nobody's going to be left behind. Anybody who needs help, we're going to make it happen, and that's exemplified by our city manager late last night helping one of the residents find a hotel room that needed help. And that reimbursement will be happening for the city, but we're not worried about that right now. We're worried about safety and taking care of people. We can figure the rest of it out later, and longer term FEMA will be involved. But I want to send that message out here right now. Anybody who needs help, they can come to the city. We will connect you and we will take care of you.
Just to add to that, I handed Supervisor Foley a list of 18 things that FEMA will cover as a result of the emergency declaration. One of the things not on the list is long-term housing. So somebody needs to be permanently relocated from here. And I'm going to push for that if necessary, and that requires a major emergency declaration. So to the extent that that's needed, we're going to, like Mayor Duncan said, we're going to do everything we can. I think local, state, federal, all working together to try to help these residents behind us.
What does short-term turn into long-term? Is there a cutoff?
We'll get back to you. I'll find out. It's a good question.
I have a question for Congressman Levin. You spoke a little bit about the relocation, possible relocation of rail corridor away from this area. Can you say a little bit more about sort of how these broader issues along the coast sort of relate to sort of this disaster that we have now?
Sure. So the rail corridor connecting Los Angeles and San Diego is the second busiest in the United States, about 8 million passengers a year. In addition to that, about $1 billion in terms of economic output for the region. So every time that it shut down, you might recall it shut down here in San Clemente for quite a while. That cost not only inconvenience for people who take that corridor, but hundreds of millions of dollars over time. And so we have to do everything we can to prevent that in the long run. Now, in the near term, we've got both OCTA and SANDAG down in San Diego County who are moving forward with planning, engineering, and design. And in the case of OCTA, construction for a near term, I say near term, we're talking about 20, 30, 40 years as opposed to 50 to 100. But in San Diego County, Senator Tony Atkins was able to secure $300 million to help longer term with the relocation of the tracks down in Del Mar. Del Mar, the tracks are up on bluffs. Here, obviously, down in Cypress Shores, those who've been down there, growing up, you used to have 100 feet of sand and beach volleyball courts. Now there's riprap and train tracks. And so we're very cognizant that we're going to need to study moving the rail in part of San Clemente's rail inland. And obviously, I don't want to get in front of OCTA or any announcements on that. We'll have more at a future date.
Has the city been able to identify any additional slopes that might be at risk of landslide with the impending storms?
Well, right now we don't have any additional slopes that have had this type of slide. Thanks, Jaden, for the question. But if you, again, walk on our beach trail, you can see that there are other properties that are exposed. And in fact, we have seen some sloughing where the top level of the vegetation has started to move with properties that are away from these 4 properties here. So what I would ask for our residents is that type of vigilance, right? We need folks eyes on the ground. If you see something going on, if you see new cracking, if you see vegetation moving, if you see the hillside moving, please let us know so that we can start to take appropriate steps. It's best if we can get ahead of this, get everyone evacuated, make sure that everyone's safe. But we rely on the residents to provide that kind of intelligence so that we know what's going on. We don't have any other locations specifically, but if you know San Clemente, again, we talked about Cypress Shore and the slope failure there. We have the Mariposa Promontory, where we had the slide happen that affected our beach trail there and affected our bridge system that goes through there. So this is nothing new for us. This is something that we've had to get used to over the years, and we just had this really, really heavy rain over this last period that's caused this particular issue. But it could happen anywhere along our coast. So we want everyone to be safe, and we're going to do whatever we can to work long-term to prepare everyone for that. And I should note before I turn it over to Congressman Levin, we have contacted the railroad. We've contacted Metrolink, which is in charge of this area, and they're cognizant that this slope failure did butt up against the tracks. It's midway through our trail, so it's not up right directly against the tracks. They're going to be monitoring that through the weekend when passenger rail comes on Amtrak to see if they want to shut that down or keep it going. But for now, as far as we know, they're keeping it going. I'll turn it over to Congressman Levin.
Well, I would just add, working in close partnership with Mayor Duncan, last year we were able to secure over $9 million to get roughly 250,000 cubic yards of sand on the beach here in San Clemente. We can't get construction on that started soon enough. But longer term, the good news is that we were able to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law, which has a dedicated fund of around $36 billion for rail across the United States. Some of that's going to go to the Northeast Corridor, which is the busiest rail corridor in the U.S., but we're the second busiest. And so I've advocated to the President and everybody in the administration that we need to bring that significant long-term funding to Orange and San Diego County. We won't stop till it's done.
Realistically, how soon do you think it'll be, or what's the earliest you think you'll be able to give residents an answer to whether or not they'd be able to move back in?
We'll address that in a moment.
Yeah.
Supervisor
So
Foley,
just
you
to
wanna
follow
touch
up
that?
on Congressman Levin's comments about the rail system, I'm also a director on the Orange County Transportation Authority, and just last week we approved 2 studies to study the issues related to the coastal rail system, and so we are moving forward on making sure to partner with the Congressman's office and others. San Diego is a critical partner, but this is an issue up and down the coast, and so the rail system is at risk given the coastal erosion. So thank you for the sand replenishment. That's really a critical issue. I don't think we know when people can move back in. It's really going to be a matter of when the public officials, building safety, tell them that it's safe.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, I want to set expectations and be entirely transparent to our residents. Many of them are here. They deserve to know what's going on, right? And so I can tell you from the city's perspective, we're going to keep safety top of our mind. So this is going to be a longer process than we would wish. We wish we could get you back in right away, but we can't have residents go back into a property that may become unsafe and then have to go back to being red tagged again, especially with the next storm system that's coming in. So I want to let everybody know this is going to be a multi-week process, and it's going to be an engagement with the property owners and their own engineers and their own geotechnical folks to determine whether the property is safe, whether there's remediation that can be done, and they'll be working with our city staff to come to that conclusion. But from the city's perspective, we are always going to err on the side of safety. We're going to make sure our residents are safe and taken care of, and that's what's going to be our default until we're 100% sure it's safe. That could be weeks.
Thank you.
Leyland.
You mentioned one of the buildings was
Question is the building that was yellow tagged out of the 4. Yeah, that was temporary yellow tagging to allow residents. That property became red tagged later in the process than the other 3. We wanted to provide a window for folks to be able to get those personal belongings. Again, their comfort and safety is our topmost priority, and it was important that they get in there, get the garbage out, get the refrigerator cleaned out, get those personal belongings from their rooms. And so we made that accommodation to them by yellow tagging it temporarily. That's going to go back to red tagging because, again, the building itself is still deemed unsafe, and this is a dynamic situation. We can't have people going in and out in an uncontrolled way because the next situation could put them in peril. So it will go back to red tagging after this window that we've had the opportunity.
Forecast having rain. How are you protecting them from further slide?
Well, that's a great question. It's a little bit more complicated question than it might seem. We can't start making adjustments to the hill or to any of the properties before a final evaluation is made, or it could be alleged that the city had some effect in what the final outcome is. So unfortunately, we sort of need to let the status quo be and make sure that we keep people safe and out of the area. And that's why we've cordoned off the beach trail and cordoned off these properties. So we're going to have to wait and see what continual movement happens after the next storm and then reevaluate until then, before we make any major adjustments on what's happened so far. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I don't know if it's just strictly liability, but it has to do with FEMA funding and other sources as well. If we start affecting things, then that affects how the funding might flow in because we might have played a role in the circumstances. So we need to make sure that, and it may change, right, based on what's going to happen in a couple of days. So we might do things that exacerbate the problem. So that's not what we're going to do right now. We're going to take care of people. Is there any other questions? Question is about the railroad coming through and whether that makes things more unstable. We can't control the railroad and what they do. What we do is report the risks and encourage them to be cognizant of those. Metrolink controls that rail corridor, and they sort of negotiate it for Amtrak as well as their own trains, and then you have a cargo train that goes as well. So we've let them know the risks. They are aware of the risks. Orange County Transportation Authority has obviously communicated that as well. They own the tracks. We're going to continue to engage with them and make sure it's safe. We certainly don't want those trains to do any more damage, and we'll be talking to them about that, but as a city, we can't directly control that.
But I think you raise a good point, and if some geologist or I think you raise a good point. If some geologist or a public safety, public works crew conveys to OCTA that the trains should stop, then the trains will stop.
Any other final questions here? One more from Jaden.
Have city officials been able to extend the amount of debris that's found up on the beach trail yet?
Yeah, that similar question to the last one. We're not going to do anything with the debris on the beach trail, although we would like to do that, right? We always want to make our beach trail as open as we can, and we'll continue to work to do that. But again, we don't want to move that because that could have an effect on what happens in a couple of days with the next rain and whether the slope is stabilized in that section. So we need to make sure we don't do anything to make the problem worse. So for now, we have to keep the debris there, but we'll try to open the beach trail, of course, as soon as we can. And of course, we want to get these residents in as soon as we can too, but we're not going to do that until they're safe. I don't have the permanent resident head count at this point, thank you. One more back here.
Can you talk about how long it takes for these geology reports to undergo to get the results? I know you said a couple of weeks, maybe it's months. Can you give us any more specifics?
Yeah, I don't know the time frame on when the geologist comes back. I don't think the geologist report is going to come back is going to take weeks. What I think is going to take weeks is establishing that the property is safe or that there might be some remediation done. So I think we'll know relatively quickly whether there's serious danger or serious instability with these structures, we're going to wait, of course, until the next large rainstorm. I think the problem is, or the real issue is, okay, once we know that, what does it take to establish safety for these structures? Or are they in a condition where there can be no remediation? That's what's going to take weeks.
Are those reports going to be public?
I'm not sure if that is made public. I know that we'll continue to update. We're going to try and update and be up front and in the public as much as we can. So we'll provide that information, I know, from the city's perspective as soon as we get it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.